The Vosges, a natural mountain landscape in the heart of Europe. The emblem of the region is the stork, and its return here seems to have reconciled man and nature once again. The cold season is barely over when the storks begin to return from their winter quarters in Spain and Africa. 30 years ago, they had disappeared almost entirely. Today, there are 400 resident breeding pairs in the Vosges. One of the largest stork colonies has settled in the Munster Valley, or to be more precise, right in the city of Munster itself. Storks have always sought proximity to human beings. The roofs of houses in villages and towns offer protection from climbing nest robbers as well as predatory birds. This attraction is mutual, as the stork is a symbol of good luck and an intact environment. And of course, legend has it, they even bring babies. In spring, storks will usually return to the nests they left the previous year. They industriously go about rebuilding their nests, but don't always agree on the exact design. A stork's nest can be around 1 meter in diameter and weigh well over 500 kilograms. It takes a constant supply of fresh twigs to construct an edifice like this. And they keep on making home improvements, even after the chicks have hatched. By the end of May, almost all the pairs of storks in the Munster Valley have had offspring. The parent birds often prefer a grooming spot outside the confines of their nest. One-child families are a rarity. Storks usually lay 3 to 5 eggs, but often they don't all hatch. And some couples remain childless. Even when very small, the chicks are insatiable. Their parents have to gather 1 kilo of food per young stork every day. With that kind of appetite, storks can't afford to be fussy. Insects, mice, frogs and snakes, they'll snap up just about anything that moves. They barely have time for a brief clattered greeting before one of them is off again on the hunt for food. To ensure an adequate food supply, the stork's habitat must be damp and meadowy, with shallow lakes and lush grassland where they can forage for small animals. The Munster Valley has plenty of stork meadows, a good reason for the feathered emblem of the Alsace and the Vosges to return here. Streams are the lifeline of the valleys. These unspoiled meadows in the valley of the river Sauer were home to the legendary aurochs until the 16th century. The water attracts creatures of all sizes, big and small. It's the mating season. The mating dance of these dragonflies looks like a rather complicated business. Other insects have evidently found much simpler methods. Annoying rivals don't make the business of reproduction any easier either. In this way, countless species of insects ensure that their future generations will continue to populate the fields. The The Sour River Valley's wild grassy areas and floodplain forests are ideal pastures for the highly prized upland cattle who live in the open air all year round. Many lakes in the Vosges are surrounded by moors. Paddling away on the surface of the water is a mallard duck. It's Europe's most common dabbling duck and can survive almost anywhere. It builds its nest among the reeds along the shore. Cotton grass is a typical peat bog plant. Frogs are well protected by its grassy blades. Almost motionless, this frog waits for its prey. Its diet consists of insects, including the homely dragonfly. The inconspicuous sundew is one of the few carnivorous plants here. Exuding sticky droplets, the sundew traps insects, digests them, and extracts their nutrients. This is how the plant manages to survive in the sparse moor soil. Nutrient poor, the moors are home to a wide variety of highly specialized animals and plants, but the habitat is finely balanced. The Vosges moors are strictly protected. The weather in the mountains can change very quickly. Looming clouds herald a storm. Time for the storks to return to their nests. Their eyries are at the mercy of wind and weather. The adult birds must protect their young from the rain and cold, or their delicate down would quickly become saturated. Not even the adult stork's plumage is entirely waterproof. If the rain persists, their feathers become soggy and heavy. This makes it almost impossible for the storks to fly off in search of sustenance. Some use the opportunity to tidy up their nest, or perhaps ultimately to sire some much-desired offspring. During hot, dry summers, the stormy showers are a boon for the forest. At last, the plants get a proper soaking. But do the caterpillars taste any juicier? In the dripping wet forest, a lynx seeks a dry spot, to the accompaniment of the melodic, territorial call of a blackbird. Tirelessly, the woodpecker hammers away at a branch. Envious rivals are given short shrift. A closer look at the mountains of the Vosges reveals a wide variety of wildflowers, herbs and grasses. The willow herb grows on rocky hillsides. The mountain pansy, on the other hand, only grows in wet mountain meadows. After the rains, insects of all kinds venture forth from their shelters. For snails, the damp leaves and fruit are a gastropod paradise. Soon the last droplets have disappeared. The damp evaporates, rising in thick clouds from the forests. For the storks, the first thing is to get their wings dry. The young imitate their elders energetically. They're growing fast and need plenty of food. This means the adults are constantly on the go, trying to keep up with the demand. Like the stork, the lynx also disappeared from the Vosges for a long time. They were released back into the wild here as recently as 1983. The lynx is rarely seen during the daytime. It patrols its territory, which spans several hundred square kilometers, mainly after dark. It leads a very secretive life. The storks living high up among the rooftops of Munster have no need to fear the lynx. They've brought up their young in the shelter of the city. Towards the end of July, the eyries start to get very cramped indeed. The young storks are now almost fully fledged and have started exercising their flying muscles diligently. Only their dark beaks distinguish them from their elders now. At 1 meter tall and weighing 3 to 4 kilograms, the fledglings are as big and heavy as a fully grown stork. Those who can already fly now follow their elders out to the meadows. The young storks have to learn to forage for food on their own. Often they will follow an older stork in the group, gathering practical experience along the way. They don't have much time, as the Munster storks are getting ready to head south quite soon. In the highlands of the Vosges, the summers are short. Once the grass and herbs have withered, the Vosges cattle don't stay on the mountain pastures for long. With food becoming scarce, they'll soon return to the valley with their herdsmen. In the Munster Valley below, all the baby storks have meanwhile grown to adulthood. Young and old are well nourished and now gather in the meadow to prepare for the big departure. At the end of summer, some 2/3 of the Munster Valley storks take off on their way to the south. Covering around 200 kilometers a day, it takes them some 2 weeks to reach their winter quarters in Spain or North Africa. Autumn has reached the valleys, and the Vosges cattle are all back down in the Munster Valley. By now, most of the storks have reached their wintering grounds, but a small group has stayed behind. With help from local residents, they will winter in the Vosges, in the Valley of the Storks.